Hey YouTubers, coming back with another update with the TRX450. I told you guys that I would be rebuilding this quad and I'll take you through the journey. And today we're going to go through the carburetor. So when I bought this TRX450 machine, it wasn't running correctly. So it would start, no problem. It was just having issues staying running. So I knew it had to be something with the tune and the carburetor. I just didn't know exactly what it was, but when I broke into this carburetor, I think I found out what the problem was. So we'll go through that and show you. I don't know if you guys have ever tore down a carburetor before. It's not a big deal. There's plenty of literature out there, but this machine also had a Sparks full exhaust, and so I got on their website and looked for their tuning guide to make sure that I had the right size jets in there. And what I found out when I broke open this carburetor is that they were not the right jets for the setup that we're running with the Sparks Performance exhaust, full exhaust. So we still have a bunch of parts here laying around. We're going to go through all individually, all these parts when we put them back on the machine. We get it put back together. Here's, I broke this down already. Here's the carburetor. When I opened it up, there was some green stuff on the bottom of the carburetor. It's still a little bit in there, but it's not bad. So we'll get that cleaned up, and you can see all the different jets that are in here. And they're really hard to read, so if you have to have really good eyeglasses to read like some of this stuff. So like this is the pilot jet. It's a number 55, and that's not the recommended pilot jet for this machine. Another thing that I had to do, this screw has one of those little temper dots in it. It's a star drive, but it had a little security thing in there, so I had to order some tools, and that actually is this little tool right here. It's a star drive. It's got the little dimple in there, and this is a T15. So if you're wanting to tear apart your carburetor, you're going to need a T15 to pull off this slide, because it connects to this piece right here. So ended up getting a new gasket set, and we also got the Sparks tuning kit. We got a new jet needle, and the needle jets, and the main jet. And didn't realize this, I've had a TRX before, but right in this little hole right here, that is called a leak jet, and that's this little booger right here. And this guy was a little bit of a pain in the butt. You can see how that was marred up a little bit. So when I first tried to get it out of there, it started to break down, and I was unable to turn it. So I actually had to put a screwdriver on it, hit it with a hammer to make a little bit of a groove. This is all soft metal, so I was able to get into the leak jet here enough to unscrew it out of there. And what I found out was, and it was very hard to read this leak jet size, but it is a 58, and Sparks Performance recommends a 55. And you're wondering, well, what the heck is a leak jet? So this carburetor has an accelerator pump on it. So, and the way I understand it is, if you're blipping on the throttle and you're trying to give it, it's sucking fuel out of this float bowl, or out of this bowl. And what that accelerator pump does is it helps with bogging. So if you don't have the right size leak jet in there, then your machine could bog. And what that does is it gives you a little accelerated squirt of fuel, so when you do hit on the throttle, it doesn't bog down. So I think I've identified maybe what the issue was in the setup. It was probably this leak jet, and they're probably trying to figure out why it kept bogging down, and I think getting the right leak jet in there will be the key. The other one was the slow jet, and this slow jet, they recommended to be stock. This is not a stock slow jet, so that is going to be replaced. There is a starter jet in here, and then the main jet, I believe it was correct for the recommendations. I believe it's a 178 that they require for this setup. So pulled out the carburetor. The guy I also bought it from told me it was leaking from the where the fuel goes into the carburetor. So he said, oh, there's 3 gaskets in there. Yeah. So actually in the kit, there's 7 different gaskets on this carburetor. There's 3 here. There was 2 on the accelerator pump area, and there was 1 for the drain down here on the bottom. And then there was, I thought there was 1 more. And another thing that I noticed when I took the top off of the carburetor on this gasket, it was kinked. So there could have been somewhat of a vacuum leak in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace those gaskets for the float bowl here, and then the top gasket so that there's no air leaks. And then this last gasket here goes onto the bottom of the float bowl, or the float bowl, yeah, or the bowl, I guess. So I also bought the Sparks kit because I didn't know what size needle jet was in there, and I wanted to make sure I had the right one. Obviously they didn't buy the kit, so this came with the 55 leak jet, it came with the needle jet, it came with a couple of main jets also as well to replace for tuning. So and then I went ahead and bought the stock slow jet, and if I'm reading this right, it should be a 42. So they had a 55 in there, and now I'm going to put it back to stock with a 42, and we'll see how this thing runs after I get it put back together. But that's pretty much, and all those jets go right down in there, and that's pretty much what we're going to do for the tuning. Is just follow the guide from Sparks, and you know, we'll get this put back together. So that's the top where the slide goes in. So we'll get we got this kind of cleaned up already with our carb cleaner. The other one he had issues with was trying to get the pilot jet tuned in, because he wasn't sure if it was 2 turns out or 2.5. I usually go 2 to 2.5 turns out, and he said this thing had actually fallen out on him, and there was some what looked like some kind of glue or something that was on here, and all I can say is why it might have vibrated loose would be that the spring was not being compressed right. The way this shows in the manual is it's a spring washer and then a rubber gasket. Oh, that's where the last rubber gasket goes, right here on the pilot jet. So hopefully getting it in the right combination will keep this from falling out, and that actually has to go in last once we get the carb put back together. So that's what we're looking at as far as the carburetor, and at this point we're just going to put it back together according to the manual, and make sure we get that put back into place, and then it should fire up and run correctly. If we have to make modifications to it, we will. So I'll just show you the paper here. All right, here's what they sent to me as far as the tuning guide. So this is for the a main jet. They're recommending a 175. You want to use the Sparks needle jet on the 4th position. We're going to use the stock pilot, and the fuel screw is 2.5 from closed. So I went ahead, that's why I bought this kit, because I wasn't sure what needle jet was in this kit. It kind of looks like it's a stock needle jet. It's hard to tell, but it doesn't have the Sparks logo actually on the needle jet. So we'll take a look at that when we pull it out and see what it looks like. All right, we'll pull out the jet needle and take a look at this. And usually there's some kind of insignia or something on here that might indicate it's not stock, and it looks like it is stock. And this is what Sparks sent. It does look a bit different. I can tell it looks just a little bit different. So we're gonna replace that, because that could be part of the jetting issues. So, and this is saying it should be in the 4th clip position. So we want to remove this circlip and then put it in the 4th position on the needle jet. Well, I call it a jet needle, but okay, we'll remove that, not to get them confused. Okay, so we want to go in the 4th position down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll double check that. 1, 2, 3, and it's in the 4th clip, 4th groove from the top. That's how you do it. When they say in the clip position, and if it's number 4, 1's at the top, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 slots in this one, so it's going to be pretty much right in the middle. All right, we can put that back in. Okay, and this goes back in here to secure that in place. So my video kind of cut out at the end. I didn't get the last frame, but I'm going to kind of walk through this really quick. So I'm fast forwarding the video. Right here I'm just putting the slide together. Got all the parts put on it, got the needle jet put in there, and basically you slide it right in there into the carburetor. And then that's where you get to the next step here, and this is your throttle assembly drum. You got to just make sure you wind it at least one time around so that it catches the spring in the 2 spots, and then it'll snap back. So that's where your throttle cable gets attached to, and that's where your throttle position sensor will end up going. So cleaned up the choke and then checked it. That's a 14 millimeter wrench to get that off, and don't forget that's plastic, so you don't want to get it super tight or try to crank down on it, because you'll break that little plastic piece. So everything was functioning good on the choke. And then this is where I replaced the inlet for the fuel line with the 3 gaskets, so it shouldn't have any leakage with the fuel coming in from the fuel tank. And then we started putting in the what I call the heart of the carburetor, putting in the different jets that we have. That is basically from the Sparks kit. So we get all these jets and get it tuned. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that when I get this carburetor put back on the machine, when it's all said and done and I fire it up, hopefully it'll be purring like a kitten when we get there. So put in the correct jets. I decided to go ahead and put in the 178. The kit was calling for a 175. I'm going up to a 178 just to make it a little bit richer, probably to get a little more fuel sprayed into the engine there, and then we'll see what happens. If I have to make some adjustments after I get it together, it's not a big deal. It's super easy to change out the main jet just by while it's still on the machine. So, and this is based off of a tune where the air box lid is off and you have a full custom exhaust on the machine, which is the Sparks full exhaust system. So alright, well, we'll see you guys in the next video when we get some more parts put together. I think the next video will probably be showing off the new powder coated frame and all the parts, and then we'll start reassembling the quad. Alright, thanks for watching.